Even if you're just starting out, we're going to talk about ways you can do this. How can you access 50K, 100K, 150K at 0% interest without having to submit any documentation, um, and without having to have a ton of time in business, and all this stuff that just makes things so much more straightforward. It opens up all the doors, right? It opens up all the doors, and I want to break that down for you tonight, as I have been um, every night. uh, I'm committed to be able to share this information with as many people as possible. So I want you guys to come in and ask your questions. I'm open book questions for each evening that I'm on here, and let me know what your question is. Right, put your question in the chat, and I'm gonna just dive in and share as much value as I can. And we're gonna jump into this. So I was just having a conversation with a friend of mine who is looking at getting a property, and for his home, and he said he didn't know how to finance it, right? Because it's going to be a renovation, and these FHA loans are actually more expensive than they were in the past. What's up, G Money? These FHA loans are actually more expensive than they were in the past, and he didn't know how to finance it, and it was like 120,000 or something for the renovation. And what's going on, Honey's Babies, Candles, and Jeff Razor Sharp? What's going on? So what do you do to be able to finance it? And I told him that you could use business credit, right, to be able to do this without having to pay interest on that, and without having to work with a hard money lender technically, or even in conjunction with the hard money lender. Like, so many different ways to be able to go into it. And he just wasn't aware, just like a lot of us just don't know what we don't know. And we don't realize that this stuff is out there, right? Because his first question was, okay, well, how do I get this, because my business doesn't have revenue? You know what I mean? How do I get access to this? That's not going to be for me. And I told him, well, guess what? You don't have to have revenue in order to get access to this. And he was like, what? And I said, yep, you don't have to have any revenue to be able to do this. We only have to have this blueprint, right, that I'm about to share with you tonight. You only have to have this formula set up in order to access this, right? And if that sounds crazy, it is crazy. You don't have to have any revenue. You could have started your business, just recently. Um, you don't have to show bank statements and personal financial statements and tax returns and all this stuff. That's power, right? Because now he can literally make a significant move, right? What's up, Stricken Soul? He can really make a significant move to be able to push his life forward. Kristen Nicole, Leslie T, what's going on? What's up? Ahava Visuals, thanks for the follow. Appreciate you, and good evening. So he really can make a significant move, right, to be able to push things forward, and it opens up the doors that he wouldn't necessarily have access to otherwise, right? Because what other way is he going to be able to get 150K, 120K? That's how much his renovation is on this property. And I said, you can get business credit on that in the next 30 days, and be able to use some of that towards your down payment, if you wanted to, or towards your working with the seller or things like that. So it's just, and his eyes were opened completely. So, like, I didn't even know that was a thing. All right, I didn't even know that was a thing, like, that you can get access to that amount without having business revenue. Because it kind of makes sense logically to say, okay, well, if I'm going to get funding or get approved or just something like that, I probably need to have revenue in my business. I probably need to have a business plan to show them what I'm about to do. Like, I'm telling you, you don't have to have any of that. Right? So and this is the power of this method, right? There are a lot of ways to get funding, a lot of ways to push your life and your business forward. What's going on, Brian? And Gwinnell, what's up? What's up, Lady T83? And let's go. Hasmonian Studio, welcome and good evening. All right. So there's a lot of ways to get funding, right? And various ways. And some you can get grants and leverage these different loan products and things like that. lines of credit and stuff. And thankfully our team is lined up to be able to help with pretty much anything across the board that you might need. We can help with that, and we can tap that in, right? Again, put your questions in the chat, you guys. Whatever question you have about funding, like what's holding you back, what's the thing that you feel like is, something that makes you feel like you don't qualify for it, or it's not going to work for you. I want to know what that is, so we can talk it through and make sure at least like what you have going. So Lady T83, thank you. Good evening. So he said, hello, you just joined. Can I share how to get started? And sorry if you've gone over it already. You are very polite, right? I appreciate you. So no, I can share how do you get started, right? So the deal is, so the first thing you can do, if you only have a short time with me here, right? The first thing you can do is to make sure you book a free consultation call with the team, right? You're going to go to fundingmyfuture.net, or you're going to hit the link in my bio, or you can even text me at 240-240-642. I'm going to put it in the chat, and I will send you the direct link to be able to get a free consultation call to see, okay, what is my next step? If you don't hear anything from me tonight and you got to go and, like me, take care of a baby that's going to wake up in the middle of the night or something like that. If you have to do that, next level J, thanks for the follow, appreciate it. You guys, please share this with somebody. Hit the like button. I'm going deep again tonight to show you the exact sauce, the exact blueprint. No gatekeep. What would you need to be able to set yourself up to position yourself to access 100K, 150K, 120K, 80K, whatever it is that you need for your business. What's the formula to be able to access that, and potentially in the next 30 days, right? We're going to talk about these different ways, right? So that's the best thing you can do is book a free consultation call and get your next step laid out. Now, with that discussed already, the next thing is, how do you get started, right? So there's two pillars that we're going to look at, Lady T83. Two pillars that we're looking at. Number one is your personal credit profile, right? Number two is your business entity structure. When you have those two things in place, then we can access it, and we do not need anything else, such as tax returns, bank statements, business revenue, a lot of time in business, a business plan submitted. We don't need any of that when we have those two things in place, right? So that's a lot of power. That's a lot of power. And we're talking about in the next 30 days potentially. So some of you watching literally might be sitting on 100K that you could be leveraging. And again, this is powerful because this is at 0% interest as well for 12 to 18 months in a lot of cases with a lot of these products that we connect with. So if you use that strategically and say, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm getting access to other people's money at 0% interest. I'm going to use this and execute on whatever I'm doing over the next 6 months, the next 12 months. And guess what? You can rinse and repeat it and do it again and get another 100K, get another 150, another 200, depending on how far you take it, another 80, depending on how far you take it, right? So again, this is super powerful. So Lady T83, I'm gonna go through this. How do you get started, right? The first thing you need to do is understand where is your credit profile and what is the credit profile that the banks are looking for, right? And this is not just your credit score, right? Not just your credit score, but what is the profile that we need to leverage in order to get into this, right? And then shortly after that, that's the more important piece. Shortly after that, we're going to be looking at what is the business entity structure. How does the business need to look on paper and otherwise in order for the banks to be attracted to it, right? And then once we have those two things, then we are solid, good to go. Right. So let's talk about that. Right. And I'm going to explain for those of you that might not meet the requirements, or maybe your credit isn't where it needs to be. I'm going to talk about some ways that you can still leverage this information to your benefit. And even if it's not like right today that you can qualify for it, but there are some ways that you can leverage this. Right. So again, thank you guys for the likes. Share this with somebody. Like I said, I'm going deep. Put your questions in the chat. Right. Any question that you have. Make sure that you put that in the chat and send your if you get some value from this at all, send a gift. It definitely helps to let the algorithm know that this is good information that's being sent out. and we want to definitely keep this going in that way, right? So here we are. So I'm going to jump straight into the sauce, right? Straight into the sauce. Yep. And I think somebody tapped in already. So shout out to somebody for taking action. Somebody was taking action immediately. So that's awesome. Right. Tracy Kelly, thanks for the follow. And good evening, right? So let's jump straight into it. Again, ask your questions. If you got a question in between anything that I'm saying, right? I'm gonna break down the exact blueprint that you need, right? Now, first, real quick, let's talk about why business credit. Why is this important? Why is this different than any other approach that you might want to take, right? Like I just told you, is the it's a formula. When you have this formula in place, then you can move forward and be able to access these funds, right? And again, at 0% interest, with a lot of the red tape stripped away, a lot of the excuses stripped away. I don't have to submit W-2s, again, tax returns, the time in business, like all this other stuff that you would think, business revenue, all the stuff that you would think that you would need to have. You don't have to have any of it to be able to access this 100,000, 80,000, 150,000, right? Chanel Alexis, thanks for the follow. And good evening to you as well, right? So why is business credit important? For those of you that might not know, I'm just going to start from the beginning. Just Bruce, what's up? Thanks for the follow, right? So for those of you that don't know, business credit, when we get these business credit products, they do not report to our personal credit. They don't show up on our personal profile at all. Kip Kion, Defour, thanks for the follow, right? So they don't show up on our personal credit at all, right? So what does that mean? If I have a $20,000 business credit card and I'm using $20,000 of it, right? Guess what happens to my personal credit? Absolutely nothing. The account doesn't show up, the utilization doesn't show up. So I can do whatever I want to on that side, and at least my personal credit stays intact. How do I know this? Because like I shared before, that between myself and my wife, over the course of about 2 years or so, and just digging into this information, investing and things like that, we were able to obtain over $500,000 collectively, right, in our household that we could use towards real estate, towards investment, towards mentorships, and getting in high level rooms and meeting awesome people, learning a ton of information, right? So that can be accessible to you and to anybody if you just have this formula, right? So now, like I said, we've been using it, we've been doing different business and things like that. Some things have gone great, some things have gone not so great. So sometimes there's balances and things like that on these cards. The last time I looked at my personal credit score, it was literally 850 on one bureau and like 847 on another one, 843 or something like that. The personal credit is completely intact. And what does that mean? Again, if nothing else, when you get this information and we're talking about how to access this and what we're going to do to get it, your credit is going to be improved, right? Because we're going to learn about, okay, what does our credit profile need to look like? And when you have a strong credit profile, and also you don't have to use it that much, because we're going to be using business credit and we're not going to be using our personal credit anymore for a bunch of stuff, it just makes life better because all your interest rates are going to be lower, right? Everything is just less expensive. You have more access to stuff, right? You can apply for different things, or everything opens up. All right, so let's get these questions answered real quick. Like I said, I'm going to dive in. So you want to know, how much does it cost to get started? Sweetheart 209. It is $0 for this consultation, right? The consultation is absolutely free. Okay, so now when you do the consultation, you're going to either meet with somebody that's looking at your credit profile to say, okay, what needs to happen in order to get your credit prepared to access this funding and access these strategies, right? Or your credit is all good, and then you're going to be meeting with somebody to talk about, okay, what does the funding need to look like, right? So once you get to that spot, then they're going to lay out exactly the next steps. But that call is free, which is why I suggest that you get on there right now. Like literally go to fundingmyfuture.net, right? Or you can text me. Text me at 240-240-642, and I'll send you the direct link. But you're going to go there, or hit the link in my bio. Go there and book a call with the team to get your next step, because getting the ball rolling now is one of the biggest things that I can say is going to be an important thing to move on, right? So let me know if you have any other questions about that, sweetheart. So how long does your business have to be open? Chanel Alexis. Ooh, Chanel. Guess what? You're gonna like this. We could open an LLC tonight. Tonight. And thanks for the gifts. Thanks for the gifts, Chanel Alexis and Gwinnell P. I appreciate it. You guys, the gifts definitely help again to let the algorithm know, if nothing else, let the algorithm know like what's the you know, that this is good information that's going out, right? Again, hit the like button, share this with somebody, you guys, because this is literally life-changing information that once you know it, it can change your whole mindset. Like I said, I was just talking with a friend of mine that was looking at purchasing a property for his family and running into roadblocks. Okay, how would we pay for this and this renovation? I said, you could use a business credit at 0% interest, right? You could access it in the next 30 days. You could be gaining points on those cards. You know what I mean? And you can pay for the whole renovation just with one funding round. And he was like, what? Like, I've never heard of that before. Like, it's powerful stuff, right? So Chanel Lexus, we could open an LLC tonight. And if you have this structure that I'm about to share, right? This structure that I'm about to share, um, if you have these things in place, then you can access it, right? Even if the LLC just opened. And what are those things? It's these two pillars that I'm about to dive into. Jonathan, thanks for the follow. What's up? Good evening. These two pillars that I'm about to dive into is your personal credit profile and your business entity structure. When you have those two things in place, the world is yours, right? And if you're according to the right strategy and approach, right, depending on who you work with, the results might change. However, what I'm going to give you tonight is going to be useful for you regardless of how you go about it, whether you work with us, whether you work with someone else, whether you try to navigate it on your own. I'm giving you the sauce that's going to be put you in the best position, right? So sweetheart says, if it's going to be a large down payment, that you can't do it, right? So I'm glad you made an appointment, right? So kudos for you for taking action. Now there's a lot of people, different companies and things like that would charge, 15,000 up front for this type of service because it's super valuable. Because like we're about to get you, 120,000, 150,000, some 30,000 for some programs and things like that. This call is free, and it's going to be, you're not going to have to pay the bulk of it. Typically, there's going to be a smaller deposit, but the bulk of it is not coming till after you get the funding. So if we don't succeed in getting you funded, then you don't pay anything, right? And that's like a refundable thing, even for that small deposit, right? So, and the benefit of this, sweetheart, is that when you get to the end of it, you can use that new 0% credit to actually pay the fee. So you're technically using the bank's money to actually pay for the service, right? So it's literally like nothing out of your pocket. And if you can answer the question of, okay, what am I going to do with the rest of the funding to be able to make new money, whether that's in business or some sort of investment or, whatever the case, if I can make new money with whatever money that I have in funding in these credit cards and things like that, then it's all good because you leverage the bank's money. All right, you leverage the bank's money to be able to get into this. Right. Camille B, good night and good evening. Thank you for dropping in. Right. And thank you guys for tapping in again. Share this with somebody. Right. Like I said, this is powerful information. I've used it as a client. I've been where most of you are. You know what I mean? And that's why I want to share it, because I want you to be able to go ahead faster than I did. I want everybody to be up. I believe in abundance. I believe that nobody has to lose. You know what I mean? I don't have any gatekeep in me. So that's why I say take advantage of this. Ask your questions, whatever question that you have. Ask your questions, because I'm telling you that this is a very, very accessible thing that you can tap into, right? So so let's see any other questions before I dive into this, because again, we're talking about the importance of why business credit, right? And Camille B, thanks for sharing the live. Appreciate it. Sweetheart, you said you have a business for 3 years and your appointment is tomorrow afternoon. Excellent. Right? So we're going to be talking, as we talk this evening, right? We're going to be talking with this to say like what is it going to take for you to have your profile set up, and you're going to know, like, am I pre-qualified? Do I have the check marks ready for this? You know, um, I see somebody else just popped in, so I see people taking action. This, like I said, this is it's a free call. You're gonna walk away with value. You're gonna walk away with awareness. Like either way, right? But best case scenario, like I said, if you're qualified for this, you could be literally 30 days away from one of my recent clients that came through. From the time that she had that she booked a call with the team to the time that she had 95,000 available to her at 0% interest that she could use for her real estate business, and everything that she was doing was 22 days. 22 days, right? So this can be very, very quick. And you guys, again, please put your questions in the chat. I'm going to be going through the blueprint, talking about the importance of this, like how and why we're going to leverage this. But put your questions in the chat, and I'll be glad to answer. All right. Again, thank you for keep hitting the like button, keep sharing this. Thanks for the follow me, to stay in touch. But let's dive into this, right? So Trucker Bay from LA. So you say your personal score is 630 and your business credit score is 85. Do you qualify? All right. So in this case, you hear a lot about business credit scores, right? And there's a lot of strategies out there that say, okay, we're going to build up our PAYDEX score, and if I have a PAYDEX score of 80, then I can do A, B, and C, right? The short answer, Trucker Bay, is you still want to book a call with the team to know, like, what are your best options, right? But however, we do not necessarily need a business credit score, right? The PAYDEX or the business experience or any of that stuff. Again, this is why this is so powerful. We don't necessarily need that in order to access this 0% credit stacking method approach, right? There might be other things available. And again, that we can help with anything across the board, right? And this is lines of credit, especially for somebody said that their business has been open for 3 years, sweetheart. Business has been open for 3 years. So that opens up some other opportunities. Not everybody has that. So we can help with lines of credit, unsecured loans, equipment loans, vehicle loans, SBA loans, if you want to connect to that, if you're trying to buy a business and things like that. So we can help with all that. However, this strategy of using this 0%, credit stacking is super powerful because you can access a significant amount in a short amount of time with the least red tape possible, right? So as far as do you qualify? So your score is probably going to need to be higher. However, Trucker Bay, with what we're going to go through tonight, you may be closer than you think, depending on what factors are bringing your score to 630. All right, so we're going to talk about that. So please stay tapped in, because you might be 1 or 2 moves away, and that could be you're 10 days away from, okay, I didn't qualify now, but I actually do qualify right now. You know what I mean? You might be 30 days away. Somebody talked about how fast is a personal credit repair. Dove Hill, what's going on, Dove Hill? Good to see you again. It is going to depend on what's in your report, right? How much stuff, the type of stuff, right? So there's never, you should never hear anybody give any guarantees with credit repair. However, most of our clients are seeing results in the first 90 days, right? In the first 90 days. So, and again, depending on what that is, it could be faster. It could be longer than that. The thing I would want you to focus on is getting started today so that you can get the ball rolling on it, because the time is going to go by super quick. All right. Somebody tell me I'm lying. That I blinked and 2025 shot by, because we are in December and I could have swore it was just January, right, of 2025, and this year flew by. The same thing is going to happen the next time and the next time. So just take the action today to take advantage of this information and just start in that direction. Gary Robinson, thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. So Trucker Bay. So we're going to talk about that, right? Again, book a call with the team, but we're going to talk about the exact things that you would need, and then I want you to follow along, and we're going to just check mark, check. Are you ready, or what's not there? So I want to dip into this very quickly, right? So again, just a quick recap. A quick recap is we're using business credit and this business credit card stacking approach, right? To be able to get the fastest entry point, and we're getting the highest limits also at the same time, to access this. All right. So and when we do that, these accounts do not show up on our personal report, so we can leverage them pretty much however we want to, and it doesn't impact our personal credit scores. Right. Also, when it comes back around to the business credit scores and things like that, and typically the reason people do that is to say, okay, once I build up my business credit scores to a certain point, I can access certain products and things like that. And sometimes it's not going to require like a personal guarantee or my personal involvement in any way, right? So some of those things exist, but they're a little bit later down the road, right? And you have to navigate some nuances in order to access those things. However, the best foot to stand on when building your business credit is actually doing this 0% stacking method. Why is that? Because when you go and start to build up your business credit, and you hear a lot of people say, okay, we need to, get some net 30 accounts, you need to get a Uline account and Quill and things like that. That's cool, right? And that can get you a business credit score, right? However, those limits that they're going to give you are going to be like $500, $1,000, for these net 30 accounts. And so when it comes time, you have to like really build this up. And when it comes time to try to apply for a credit card or something like that, the limit that you're going to get is probably not necessarily that high. And there's going to be a very limited amount of banks you can go to get that. Now, if you start off with a business funding round, and we say each account that you get is going to be $10,000, $20,000, $50,000, $35,000. And those are the trade lines that are showing up on your business credit report. Now that's a good solid foundation to be able to say, okay, even if I go after that, if I go to Uline and Quill and Granger and these places, and I still want to do that strategy, they're looking at my business file and saying, oh, you've got $20,000 limits that you manage well, $50,000 limits. We're going to give you higher limits for that. And that's just going to make everything else go better, right? So you're positioning yourself in the future to be able to access higher limit products, and also potentially sooner to get to the place where you don't have to even have your personal involved at all, right? But it's the best way to get in the door to jump into it, right? So just for the sake of Trucker Bay and everybody else here, I am going to dive straight into this information as far as like what is your personal profile need to look like. We're going to just zip through it bullet point by bullet point, and I want you guys to hit check, or I want you to hit we're gonna say credit in the chat if something is missing, and I'm gonna instruct you through it. So if you are ready, if you got your pen and your notes, I want you to type ready in the chat, right? Just like Trucker Bay did. I want you to put ready in the chat if you got your pen and you got your notes, because this is valuable information. I'm gonna just jump straight through it, right? Again, this is a great time to share with somebody, because somebody it can change somebody's life knowing this information, and you don't know what you don't know, right? So Gwinnell's ready, Lady T83 is ready. Fearex, thanks for the follow. All right, so let's dive into it. Let's dive into it. All right. Okay. All right, here we go. So number one, we talked about the personal credit profile. All right, so here's your bullet points. All right, number one is your credit cards and your revolving cards, right? Your overall limits for your revolving cards need to be at least $10,000 to $15,000 overall or higher, right? If you have that, all right, if you have that, I want you to put check. If you don't have that, I want you to put cards in the chat, right? At least $10,000 to $15,000. So all your credit card limits, your personal cards added up, is it more than 15,000? Or if it's more than 10,000, you can squeeze in the door. That's the minimum. So ideally, you got 30,000, 40,000, 50, 100, in your personal credit cards. And through that, do you have at least two cards that are $3,000 limit or higher? Okay. All right. Now, so again, I want to see check in the chat, or I want to see cards in the chat. Cards if you don't have it, check if you do have it. Now, if it just right off the gate, if you feel like, okay, I don't have this, Kyle, we're going to talk about some ways you can still leverage this information to your benefit, right? We can still leverage this information literally right now to be able to make money off of, to be able to still get funding and things like that. So I still want you to take notes on exactly what's required across the board here, right? All right, so I see some checks and I see some cards. All right, so number 2, your utilization needs to be below 30%. Ideally, it's below 10%. Now, this is across the board, right? Across the board, or your each individual card has that threshold as well. A lot of people don't know that, but it's both factors. So your overall limits as well as each individual card, right? I want you to put check if you got that for bullet point number 2, and I want you to put utilization in the chat if your utilization is above 30% on any individual card or on your overall limits. Now, if you don't know this information, then you need to get on your credit monitoring. You need to whatever platform that you have, and it's going to be a good investment in yourself to get a good solid one where you can look at all 3 bureaus at the same time and just be able to have a snapshot and idea of like where am I, right? And if utilization is your only issue, I got some sauce for you because we can deal with that fairly quickly. There's a couple ways to deal with that, and I'm gonna talk about that, right? So again, I want you to put check in the chat or put utilization in the chat if you are at least below 30%, and ideally we want to be below 10%. All right, so bullet point number 3, write this down. Bullet point number 3 is your inquiries are between 0 and 3, so 3 inquiries max on each bureau. And ideally, we want to have as few inquiries as possible in the last 6 months, because any inquiries that are older than 6 months have a little less impact on the funding decisions and process than those that are in the 6 recent months. So I want you to put check in the chat if your inquiries are solid, and I want you to put inquiries if you don't have that. You got more than 3 inquiries on any particular bureau. All right. Okay, here we go. So that's number 3. Number 4 is your primary accounts, the accounts that are in your name, right? Bay Enhancer, thanks for the follow. Appreciate you. We need to have at least 10 primary accounts, 7 to 10 accounts in our name reporting on our credit report. Now, this is across the board. So this is your mortgages, is auto loans, student loans, credit cards, store cards, everything. You have at least 7 to 10 that are on your report, right? I want you to put check in the chat if you got that one, bullet point number 4. And I want you to put accounts in the chat if you don't have at least 10 accounts on your credit report. All right, let's keep going. Your average age across all of your accounts needs to be at least 4 to 5 years, ideally. If you got 2 years or more, I see you guys tapping. I see some people with accounts, and I see some people with check, right? So the average age, if you got 2 years or more, you can squeeze in the door. If you're below 2 years, we definitely need to do some things about it. And I got some sauce for you to be able to deal with that kind of in short order, right? But let me know where you're at with that one. So your average age of all your accounts, and if you're looking at your credit monitoring, it should give you what is the average age. Is it above 4 to 5 years? I want to put check. And if it's not, then I want you to put age. If your average age is like below 2 years. All right, and here's the last one. I think I see the checks flying in. Here's the last one: is we want no negatives, no derogatories. So that means no late payments, no collections, no charge-offs, and no bankruptcy. All right. The only caveat is if you have late payments that are older than 2 years old, then we can still squeeze in the door. Okay. So if you have no derogatories, or if at least any late payment is older than 2 years, I want you to put check in the chat. If you got any other derogatories, right, I want you to put credit in the chat. All right, so I see the checks rolling in. So I want you to give yourself a score. Is there anybody now that after I just went through, that's literally the blueprint, right? It sounds very simple, but once we have that literally opens the door to 100K, to 120K, 150K, 80K, 50K, whatever it is, or however much you might need for your business. And we can do this multiple times over. We can rinse and repeat this every 6 months, 6 to 12 months. We can rinse and repeat this, and as many times as we need to. Somebody put ready in the chat. If you checked all those boxes, put ready. Right? Because if that's you, then you're literally sitting on it right now. For those that didn't have some of those, right? So I'm going to talk about the ways that you can leverage, right? Nami Nava Israel, thanks for joining. You just joined. So I'm gonna loop through it real quick, right? Lady T83 says 4 out of 5. All right. So I need you to check this against yourself. Okay. I'm gonna loop through it real quick. Do you have on your overall, number one, do you have on your overall credit limits, all your cards put together, is it more than $15,000 or maybe more than $10,000? Right? That's number one. Number two, is your utilization below 30%, ideally below 10%? Are your increase at 0 to 3 increase per bureau? Do you have at least 10 primary accounts reporting on your credit file? That's number 4, right? In your name. And do you have your average age of your credit is at least 4 to 5 years, or maybe at least 2 years you can squeeze in? And do you have no derogatories, no late payments, no collections, no charge-offs, no bankruptcy? Right? So I want you to give that score. And Nami Nava Israel, we're just going to put that in the chat. So either you got cards, right? If your cards is a no, you put cards. If your utilization is a no, utilization, inquiries, accounts, age, and credit, right? Or derogatories. Now, if you said yes to all of those, if you got a perfect score, right? And again, this is what's important, because your credit score might be high, and this can be confusing for a lot of people, because you say, okay, I got a 700 or I got a 750, and you can still go and get denied for business funding or for these cards in this approach if you don't have these things in your profile that I just talked about. This is the sauce, right? Because it's not just the credit score, it's the profile that matters. So if you have that, then you're ready to move forward, right? Then I would just say, if you got it, or even if you're close. Now, here's the other things, that if the only thing that was holding you back was the utilization, all right, we're going to go through the utilization play. If there was anybody, I think there was somebody that had a utilization issue, right? Who was that? Somebody let me know who that was that had the utilization issue. That was the only thing that was holding them back. Lady TA3. So let's talk about utilization real quick, right? Before we dive into what you can do if your credit is not in this situation, and how can you still leverage this to your benefit, right? And hopefully you took the notes. Like I said, I paid a lot of money, you guys, for this information, and I want you guys to be able to have it, right? Thanks for the gift, Nami Nava Israel. Thanks for the gift. I appreciate it. You guys share this information, share this live with somebody. Keep hitting the like button if you're getting any value at all from this, and let the algorithm know that this is good stuff happening. All right, so here we go. Utilization. I'm going to dive into this. So this is super powerful. Take notes on this. If you got your phone or your pen or whatever you got, your computer, take some notes on this. So your utilization, if the utilization is the only thing holding you back, right? What you can do is you have, just to understand how this works, is that your credit score is based on your revolving credit card debt, right? That utilization factor. And where your utilization is accounts for up to 30% of your whole credit score. So this is like 150 to 180 points, of your credit score is just based on your utilization. So that's how much you could swing up or down depending on where it is. Right now, here's the kicker. Here's what doesn't connect to it, is your installment products, right? Instead of a revolving product. So what is that? If you have a loan, like a personal loan, a debt consolidation loan, or something like that, then that does not impact your utilization score. So what can you do? Let's say that you have $20,000 in credit card balances, right, across your cards, and you're like way utilized. So you got 90% utilization. You can literally just shift that from one vehicle to another vehicle and change everything, and can do that in a matter of days. How? We would get a personal loan for $20,000. And again, when you lock in with the team, you're going to go to fundingmyfuture.net and get a free consultation call, right? Or you can hit the link in my bio, or you can text me. I put it in the chat, 240-240-642. You're going to go to that site and get a free consultation call. So when you lock in with the team, we know which personal loans are going to be the best fit. Or there might be some lenders or some different things out there that you're not aware of, and we can get access to these different things in a lot of cases, right? But we get a personal loan for $20,000, and that can happen in the next 24 to 48 hours. Once we get that 20,000, we pay off all the credit cards, right? We paid off all the credit cards. So now our credit card balances are down to zero. And guess what happens? Immediately, our credit score jumps up through the roof, right? Again, like I said, depending on where you were, that could be 100 points. It could be 50, 100, up to 150 points probably, that credit score change. And here's the other thing is our profile is now ready for funding. If that was the only thing holding you back, right? Lady T83. So that's what we're talking about. If that was the only thing holding you back, now you're ready for funding. So what can we do? We can get you funded 100K, 120K, 150K, 80K. And you can go and effectively shift that balance from the personal loan that you just got, the 20,000, over to the business credit cards, right? So now the business credit cards are at 0% interest. So we went from having 25 to 29% interest, right, on the personal side with the credit cards. Now we're over at 0% interest. And how much cash flow do you save just by doing that move, right? So that's a much better position to be in. Now, the next question is, okay, well, I put the 20,000 here. The debt didn't change. I didn't have to come out of pocket. I'm going to change my payments, but I completely shifted my credit score and my situation. And now I'm positioned for funding, right? And can do all sorts of stuff. So what's the next thing is, what do I do with the remaining funds that I have left over? And what plan do I have to be able to implement to make money on this money? Because I can leverage other people's money. The money is not the problem, is what am I going to do with it? If you have a plan for what you're going to do, then you're all good. Somebody put in the chat, what is your plan if you had access to this? If I gave you $75,000 in cash right now, what would you do to be able to flip that, right? Or invest it, or whatever the case, and you had to bring me back $100,000 in the next 6 months. You can use as much or as little of it as you want, but you just need to bring me back $100,000 in the next 6 months. What would you do? Right? Funding company, Jada Galore. What industry are you thinking about? What industry are you in? Right? What mentors are you tapped into and following? Lady T83, flip a home, 100%, totally possible. And it's a great tool for flips, because you can use credit. You can use the credit cards to pay for a lot of the stuff in the renovation, the materials. A lot of times you can pay contractors with these cards, and you're getting points along the way. That's the other thing, points and bonuses, and that stuff adds up quickly. If you've got $100,000 renovation or $50,000 renovation, that adds up super quick, right? Iris says, I'm going to purchase a hotel. Yep. As long as you've got your exit strategy in mind, right? So I say, okay, if I'm going to purchase a hotel, you can purchase a business with this type of thing. I don't know if we talked about the SBA, right? But leveraging the SBA, again, which we can connect you with all of these resources across the board, right? So I'm talking about the 0% strategy because it's so powerful and so accessible. However, we can help with pretty much every other type of funding that you could want. So let's just say for the SBA, right? If I wanted to take over a business and I want to buy a business and the business costs $1 million, we can go to the SBA and the SBA will fund us 90%, which means we have to come up with 10% down on the business purchase. All right. So what is the 10% down on $1 million? That's 100,000. So where am I getting the 100,000 from? You could use the business credit that you got to be able to put the 100,000 down. Again, no money out of your pocket. We can put that 100,000 towards that SBA down payment, and they have the SBA cover the rest of it, and now potentially purchase a business. And in some of these cases, these businesses are cash flowing 15,000 a month, 20,000 a month, 40,000 a month in some cases, right? With no money out of your pocket. That to me is crazy. That to me is crazy. God's gift. I am just paid off a loan through SBA. How to go back for more. Yep. So if that's what you're looking at, again, you can connect with the team, fundingmyfuture.net, or text me, or go to the link in my bio. And the good thing about this is not just like a funding service where it's just a one and done, but it is an ongoing relationship, like a consultation process. This is another benefit of working with a team like this. So to look at your next step, like what is the best way? How do we go back for more, right? How would we navigate that? That's going to be under your situation, and the advice for your next steps is going to be taken care of in that way. All right. So that's how you would do that. Because it's going to depend on there's so many factors, right? It's like literally like a game of chess to figure out with all your factors, like the state that you're in, the relationships that you have, the different cards and your balances and your accounts and your goals, all that factors in. So again, these consultations are very valuable because it's like your situation, what's going to be best for that, and we can help. So Emery says, you want to know more? Let me know your questions, or like I said, if you want to know more, you can go to fundingmyfuture.net and hit the link there and book a free consultation call. Right. But I am here to answer your questions right now. And we can go through it. But I hope that didn't go over your heads, you guys. Again, you guys, please share this with somebody. Hit the like button. Because this is really, really powerful information. I hope this didn't go over your heads. That you could literally, for no money out of your pocket, acquire a business that makes 15,000 a month, that makes 20,000 a month, right? I'm not to say that that's just the easiest thing in the world. You have to be able to manage it. But a lot of these things are cash flowing on day one, and you're just like thinking of ways to improve it. Right? God's gift I am. Thanks for the follow. All right. So again, this is very, very powerful. So for what we said, purchase a hotel. Let me know what else you guys have going on. Right? Iris Palmer, thanks for the follow. What would you do if I gave you 75,000, or if you have no idea what you would do? I want you to put that in the chat, and that's okay. If you have no idea what you would do, say, I don't know what I'd do, Kyle. If you gave me 75,000, how would I turn that into 100K in 6 months? I don't know. That's okay. Buy a storage yard. Yep, you totally could do that. Yep, seller financing. Yeah. So twist your POV. Yeah, you could do seller financing for sure. Right? You would just have to know, even with seller financing, like a lot of times, again, I studied this stuff in real estate too, but a lot of times, even with seller financing, the seller may want something up front. You know what I mean? To start that process. Like, how much does the seller want in our finance agreement? Sometimes you can get zero down, but sometimes they want 20,000. Sometimes they want 50,000. Sometimes they want, and where's that coming from? Right? How long does it take you to save up $100,000? How long does it take to save up 120,000, 80,000? Right? This is a game changer to say, okay, in the next 30 days, I can have access to these funds. And again, whatever you can't pay for in credit, we have direct ways to be able to liquidate these funds into cash. And in a way that is not a cash advance. So you're not paying the extra fees and interest rates. Shows up as a purchase. It's at the 0%. You're getting rewards points, and you can use that cash for various things when that's appropriate. You just have to factor in whatever fees that might come up from that into your calculation. But if your exit strategy is tight, then you're good to go. All right. So let me know what else you guys would do. What's the best business structure for a consulting company, Lady T83? Yeah, so let's talk about that. We're going to talk about the business structure. And if you do have a consulting company, then you're in a good spot, right? But we're going to talk about the specific things that you would need to be able to set up on the business entity side, so that it's as positioned as well as possible for for business funding. Like, again, like what do the banks want to see? All right. So you guys put your questions in the chat. So Herschel Marshall, what's going on? You said, how about Section 8? Section 8 is a yes, right? You could do it as long as the exit strategy supports it. Right. So what we would probably not want to do, again, it's just my suggestion. You would not want to get into some sort of investment that's like a super long-term thing with no immediate chance for an exit strategy. Right. So that's like if you're getting into a property that's like a turnkey property and there's no way to increase the value and like refinance out, Bird method or whatever the case, then the funds that you use, it could be advantageous to say, okay, I'm gonna buy this property. But again, these in general, we're looking at a 12 to 18 months for our 0% period on these cards. Now there are ways to be able to extend it, to loop it around and things like that. But I would just say it's smarter to at least have a plan to say, okay, when I'm getting into this, what is my plan to be able to exit in one way or another and recoup the money in 6 months or in 8 months, 9 months, 12 months, right? I think that's the better way to go about it. So if you have a Section 8 property, Herschel, that you say, okay, I'm doing some sort of renovation to it, I'm doing something to it, and I can refinance out, and my numbers make sense, so my cash out refinance covers my costs and any fees and things like that, then that's all good, right? That's all good. So I want to go through again, you guys. I hope you guys are finding this valuable. Again, if so, share a gift, share this with somebody. Hit the like button, keep on hitting it. This will let the algorithm know that this is good stuff happening. And again, it's life-changing information that I wish that I had more of when I was starting, but I really do want everybody to, I want everybody to have it, to be able to level up. Again, I believe in abundance. I think everybody can win. It doesn't have to be any losers or anything like that. Kimmy, thanks for the follow. Doesn't have to be any losers. And the other thing I wanted to share is for the other thing that I care about a lot is that the next generation is equipped in a better way than we were coming along, so that young people have the knowledge and the tools and things like that they need to grow. So for that reason, I have committed to donate and reinvest a portion of my profits from all of this to a fund that's going to be helping young entrepreneurs to get into business, to get into wealth creation, into financial literacy, into mentorships, and real estate, and different arenas and things like that, to be able to push their lives forward. So that's just a personal thing that I have committed to. So if you're working with me in any capacity, then that's going to be a part of the equation. But I again, it's just really, really powerful because it's one of the fastest ways to jump into, again, because we're talking about these are no document programs, you guys. I'm gonna say this multiple times because it's worth saying. No tax returns. You don't need to submit W-2s. You don't need to submit personal financial statements and business plans, time in business, like all these things that would seem like restrictions from us getting started. None of those apply, right? When we apply this strategy in the right way. Esha Bugs, thanks for the follow. All right. So Andre says you just formed a holding LLC and an operating and starting a corporate leasing company. Okay, dope. So again, the team can advise which of your LLCs is going to be best to be able to get funding on, right? And then you can use that to be able to fund your other entities, or talk to your CPA and move the money around and things like that. But yeah, that's a good start, Andre. All right, so I want to talk about, again, for those of you that were following along and that put credit in the chat and put age and things like that, like your credit isn't where it needs to be, or even the cards, right? Here's a way that you can leverage it. 2 ways you can leverage it right now to your benefit. Number one, once you know this, like I said, this is literally the blueprint and the sauce. Once you know this, right? If you can't do it for yourself, you can be leveraging what's called a credit partner to be able to move into this still in the next 30 days. How does that work? If you find somebody that is sitting on this profile, right, those exact bullet points that I just shared, which were, do you have at least $15,000, $10,000 to $15,000 in your overall credit limits, on the personal side. Your utilization is below 30% minimum. You have 0 to 3 increase per bureau. You have at least 10 accounts reporting on the profile. Your average age is 4 to 5 years or more, ideally. And you have no late payments, no collections, no charge-offs, no bankruptcy. If you partner with somebody like that, we can get them funded 100K, 120K, 80K in the first round, right? And then you leverage those funds for the business, right? So either it's on their own LLC or you put them as a co-owner on the operating agreement of your LLC, and you can even do that temporarily. It's an internal document, right? So you can do that, and then get the funding based on that person, right? So I hope this doesn't go over your heads, you guys. The power of what I just shared means that even if your credit isn't in the right place, then you can still access this in one way or another if you find the person, because you know the formula for what that profile would need to be. And if you have that, then you can link up with it and you can execute on whatever it is that you're looking to do. Because most of us on here are the ones that, again, have an idea of, okay, this is what I would do with the funds, right? This is how I'd execute on it. These are the mentors that I'm going to tap into. And mentorship is a really, really powerful thing to understand as far as when it comes to business credit, right? Because and I see somebody else just tapped in. I appreciate you guys for taking action, right? Please take action and book a call with the team, right? It's a free consultation, and you're gonna get some next steps. You're gonna get some awareness on like what you need to do. Go to fundingmyfuture.net and fill out the little form. It takes like 60 to 90 seconds, and get a call booked with the team, and get your next steps. Or you can text me and I'll send you the direct link, right? 240-240-642, right? But let me know. Again, I hope that's empowering for some of you to say, okay, if it's not me, I can just partner with somebody. And that could be a family member that just happens to have good credit and they weren't doing anything with it, right? It could be somebody in one of these other mentorship groups that maybe just doesn't have the time. They have the desire to do stuff, but they don't have the time. And they got their family, they got their job and all this stuff. And it's like, I got good credit, but I don't know what to do with it. And you can partner up that way, right? So Lady T83. So once you get the business funding, do you do a balance transfer from your personal? Are you talking about that utilization play that I just shared? So you could do a balance transfer. We could also do liquidation, right? Where we're just going to liquidate some of those business funds and then be able to pay down those cards. And there's various ways to liquidate. One of the most direct and clean ways is just to use a liquidation company. And there's usually a fee structure in there, but all the numbers can make sense. And it's just very straightforward. That can happen as fast as same day, up to $500,000, or 2 to 3 days. There's some companies that it takes 2 to 3 weeks, 2 weeks or so. That's the most straightforward way to do it. There's a lot of other ways that are out there as far as how to liquidate cards into cash. And some of them can get pretty crazy. And there's a lot of legwork and a lot of gray area. It's just kind of a lot of back and forth. So I can share those strategies if somebody's interested. But like I said, for me, I would say the best way to do it is just to go straight to a source of somebody that does it and can do it cleanly and directly, compliant and everything. And everything's on the up and up. Right. So again, ask your questions, you guys. Put your questions in the chat. Let me know, like, what else are you thinking about that might be holding you back? Right. We're gonna talk about the business entity structure. And we're gonna also talk about ways that you can leverage this, right? So we talked about the credit partner. Here's the other way that you can leverage this right now, information that I just shared with you to your benefit is, now that you know this profile, you could be referring other people that need funding and that have this profile and getting paid out right now on those referrals, right? So the case in point is I just had a referral. Somebody sent me a client, and I just paid her. I got the PayPal. I just paid her $2,252 for one client, right? For one referral, and she didn't have to do any work. Once she sent the name over, We did like literally everything else, and that's probably the easiest money that she has made like ever. And if she were to do that multiple times a month, or however much, and again, it's like as much effort as just coming up with names, or if you want to do some legwork and go meet with certain people, is not far-fetched to people in certain industries that are aligned with this, to your business chamber of commerce, or realtors and tax professionals. And there's a strategy that I can share, that it's not far-fetched to be able to get a decent amount of people coming through, and that can add up quickly if anybody can do the math, right? That can add up very quickly. So again, your credit doesn't have to be in place in order to make that referral. Now, here's the third thing I will say. Again, if you're not there, number one is just to start today to build it up, because the time is going to go by. I already said that the time is going to fly by either way. So you might as well start working on it, right? The longest road is if you don't have any like credit cards, right? Don't have any cards at all, and you just need to start building up from scratch, right? Those cards, when you get some of these high limit cards, and the strategy is really like, you're going to want to build up your profile in a certain way, so that when you apply for your first credit cards, that you're going to get the highest limits possible, so you have a good footing to stand on, so that when you get the business credit, you have these high limit cards, and you're going to get high limit business credit cards, right? And there's certain credit unions and banks that are known for giving out high limits, even if you're just starting out. So you would want to leverage that, right? But those cards ideally need to be seasoned and be in place for about a year, right, before you're ready to make moves on it, right? So you start the ball rolling, and you might hear a year and just feel like, oh, that sounds like a long time. I swear this year just flew by, right? And when we look at December of 2026, you're going to be thanking yourself that you started to take action, right? Now, that, like I said, that's the most extreme case, which is not far at all to say in a year I can access 150K, 100K, 200K, whatever, towards my business and towards my dream and whatever I'm pushing towards, right? We just hit 10,000 likes. Thank you guys. Keep hitting the like button. Again, share this with somebody. Thank you guys for the follows. Money making murder. Thanks for the follow. And let's keep it going, right? So yeah, so that you can leverage this information now, and you just need to start taking action. The best way to take that action, I would suggest, is still to book a consultation with a team, right? To be able to know what specific things do you need to add in order for the banks to look at you favorably, right? Because you don't want to go overboard and be adding things that you don't need, and you don't want to also waste a bunch of time trying to research different things when you could just get the blueprint laid out straight. So, okay, just do this. This is going to be the best chance for you to get funded, and you can just start taking action on it. And while you wait for that to process, then you can leverage some of those other opportunities. Like I said, find a credit partner if you need to move quickly, or you can be doing referrals and making money right, like literally right now. So Denise Norton says, what would I need to do if I am starting a massage business? Yeah, massage business. This is the same thing, right? And we're going to talk about the LLC structure, where basically you have your business, whatever your business does. There are some cases where it makes sense to also Jazzy Accessories. Thanks for the follow. Thanks for sharing too. So where it makes sense to actually have a separate either a bank facing entity or like portion of the business that's going to be the most equipped for getting funded, right? And then you have your client facing portion that all the clients see, and it's like two separate things, right? So this is a real big nugget that can be very powerful. Is we keep a generic and bank friendly presence and put that in front of the bank. So not to say that there's anything wrong with a massage business, just saying across the board, if you can keep things very generic, and we know that this is going to be the least friction and the highest possible limits, then you can set that up. Right now, if you're looking at starting a massage business specifically, you can let me know what you mean by that, as far as like what your question is. But as far as accessing the business credit that I'm talking about, and getting that 100K, 120K, 150K, 80K to be able to use directly for it. It's literally that blueprint that I just shared, the personal credit, the bullet points, and this business entity structure that we're about to go through. When you have those two, you're good. Now, there are some other avenues that you could explore as far as starting a business. Sometimes depending on what you're doing and where, there's other products you can leverage. But I said that this 0% business credit is one of the fastest ways to be able to get into this, right? TG Mike, thanks for the follow. So let's go into the LLC structure a little bit, right? And we can loop around to anything else. Again, make sure you guys get your consultation book, a free consultation slot. Go to fundingmyfuture.net or hit the link in my bio, or you can text me and I'll send you the link directly so you can get tapped in with a free consultation call and look at like what is your next step to move forward. All right, so here we go. So the business entity structure, right? Here we go. Yep. So Denise Norton says you want to know about how to structure the business. All right, here we go. So, and I'm just talking about requirements and these bullet points that you need to know to be able to push things forward, right, in the best possible way. Amay for real, thanks for the follow. All right, so here we go. Get your pen out. Number one is your business name needs to indicate that it is not a high risk business and high risk industry, right? We want a low risk business name. What's the way to do that? I'll just give it to you straight. If you have a keyword in your name, keyword in enterprises, keyword solutions, keyword group, keyword holdings sometimes. A lot of these are the very generic and boring, things that you can have. And that just, the boring usually indicates stability to the banks, right? Yep, TG Mike. So a business name is with not high risk. Now, if you want to know, if you want a list of high risk industries and low risk industries, then I'll be glad to go through that if somebody wants, right? But we just, the shortcut is if you use one of those strategies to keep it low risk, then you're good to go. Now, there are certain industries that are going to automatically indicate high risk and scrutiny from the banks, such as like if you're in trucking, right? Or a lot of times even real estate, like real estate investment and things like that, can indicate high risk to the banks. And that's either going to trigger a denial for you like immediately, or it's going to trigger a low limit approval, right? Both of those that we don't want, which is why we can do it this way. So if you don't have your entity set up, then you can potentially, there's two ways to go about it. Either you have your entity and you have your main entity's like name and information is the way that the banks want to see it. And then you have a DBA set up for your business, for your client facing activity. So you have a different name, you have a different website, all this stuff that like, this is what I want my clients to see. Right. So, yep. So no trucking, real estate, low limit approval. Yeah. I see you taking notes, TG Mike. We're tapped in. Let's see. Love to cater to you. Is it high risk because I keep getting offered low limit approvals? So God's gift. We're going to talk about what might be contributing to the low limit approvals, right? And also, what are you applying for? And do you have the check marks on that personal profile side? Like all that stuff matters when it comes to approvals, right? But love to cater to you. Again, it's we would want it to be more generic, right? So here's the other way to go about it. Like I said, either you have the DBA route where I've got my main business, it's all one business, but I have a DBA. The other way, that's kind of the cleaner way to do it, is to just have a separate entity that's designated for funding. All right. Good Bunny, thanks for the follow. AJ Houston, thanks for the follow. So you have a separate entity that's designated for funding. Right. That's the cleaner way to go about it. To where I set this thing up and it's like the exact way that the banks want to see it. Exact way that the banks want to see it. And then I have my other entity that is my client facing entity. Again, I can use whatever address that I want. I can use whatever name that I want. I can be as free flowing as I want to with this client facing entity. I got a different website, and then I got something boring and straightforward that the banks want to see on the other side. That combination can be a winning combination and we're going to go through some ways that that this can apply and ways we can set this up. Right. So so let's jump into it. Right. So yep, Francisco, what's going on? All right, so here we go. Next, so we got the business name, right? And again, if somebody wants to know some of those industries, I can share that, but let's push forward. Trucker Bay, thanks for the follow. All right, here we go. So next, your business address is super important. These are like the pillars of it. Your business address is really important, and it needs to be an address that does not indicate that it's a PO box. That's the main thing that I can say, right? M Strong 5331, thanks for the follow. And Francisco, you say yours has Accent Property Solutions, right? So you're in the ballpark there, right? Because property, depending on the bank and depending on how they do it, that could indicate like real estate. And solutions indicates consulting. So the consulting side is more low risk. And here are the low risk angles that we want to, the pillars that we can start with. Anything that has to do with consulting, anything that has to do with like marketing, anything that has to do with online education, anything in those realms is going to be the lowest risk, the least friction, right? Bella V, thanks for the follow. It's going to be the lowest friction, right? Again, real estate, there are certain portions of real estate that you can get away with, like property management, and again, like some types of consulting. But it's just sometimes it's better to just play it safe, right? Because if it's anything like investment or things like that, then a lot of banks look at that as high risk. And again, some banks don't do it at all, and some are gonna work with you, but it's gonna be a low limit. All right, so let's talk this through, right? Here we go. So could we use a registered agent for the business address, Denise Norton? Yes, you can. All right, now we're gonna talk about again the no PO box. It's not just a PO box, but does it look or smell or quack like a PO box? That's the other thing that we need to know, because banks are starting to look sideways at any address that can't be verified, like that you do your business from this address, right? Or it doesn't indicate it. So here's what you're going to do, right? Please write this down. So any address that you have and that you're going to use, and Francisco talks about home address. We're going to touch on that very shortly, Francisco. Any address that you're about to use, you want to make sure that this is not registering as a CMRA, right? Or a commercial mail receiving agency. How do you do that? You look up on the USPS, right? You can Google USPS zip code lookup. You're going to go to that site and you're going to put in the address that you're considering, whether this is your registered agent, whether this is your address from iPostal One or Regis or Opus, Alliance. You know, there's these different virtual address companies you can get. You're going to put that address in there, and there's going to be some line items there. And that line item, one of those is going to be CMRA. All right. So if it says CMRA and there's a Y next to it for yes, then that's a big problem, right? Because that's an automatic indicator that this address is designed to just send and receive mail for people. And it's not just like a business address, right? The other way that you can tell this is if you Google on Street View that same address and you look at it, a lot of those addresses that are CMRAs, it's like a Staples, literally. So if somebody, an underwriter, is looking and they look at this address and see, okay, this is a Staples, you clearly don't run your business from there. So that, you know, that's a denial, right? If you Google it and it looks like a nice office building, a big office building, right, then that's more likely that maybe you have one of those suites in there that where you do your business, right? So that's a big one. So you said make sure that it's not a UPS store. Yeah. Dr. Kaiser Khan, is that how you say it? Yeah, thanks for the follow too. And Francisco, thanks for the follow. Yeah, so not a UPS store, right? You would just want to do that check for wherever you have. Right now, again, like I said, with this dual LLC strategy, if you want to use a virtual address or UPS store or whatever the case for your client facing thing, then you could do that, right? We just want to be as careful as possible. Now, let's get to what Francisco said, right? The recent sauce on this is that people have been getting the max funding according to this 0% stacking strategy that I've been sharing with you. That's so powerful and so accessible. They have been getting the max funding by using a home address instead of using a virtual address. Why? Because banks like stability, and they feel like, okay, this is like a concrete place that you are connected to. We know we can find you there, and so we feel safer with that. Versus, again, a virtual address or a PO box. If they sniff that out, then it's like, okay, you could start here today and then disappear tomorrow, and we don't like that, right? So that's the other thing that you can look at when it comes to the address is like leveraging a home address right now. So why would I not want to do a home address? Because there's two arguments. One is people will say, okay, well, when you go for the big funding, maybe later down the road, if you have a home address in your business, then they might look at it like this is not a serious business or whatever the case, which is a possibility. However, during COVID, a lot of people were doing business from home. So it's like it's kind of shifted a bit as far as how far you can take that with a home address. However, the main thing I'm saying is if you're leveraging this 0% strategy, you can definitely get access to 100K, 150K, 200K, 250K, up and up and up, just leveraging the home address. Right now, there's the other argument. And Tara, thanks for the follow. Here's the other argument. And you guys, again, please share this with somebody. Please hit the like button, tap it. That's an easy way that you can kind of help out. Again, to let the algorithm know that this is good information. If you've been getting any value from this, send in some gifts, and we want as many people to know about this as possible, right? Because again, this is life-changing, game-changing information to say, I can access I might be sitting on this in the next 30 days. I might be able to access this. And I didn't know I can get 100K to be able to use for business, for mentorship, for investment, for down payment, for all this stuff. It's a game changer, you guys. World of Subans. Thanks for the follow. All right. So when you look at that business address, and the other reason to not use a home address, right, would be, okay, privacy, right? Because anytime you register a business, the address that is registered with is, public information. Now, again, this is why the dual LLC strategy can make so much sense. Because if I have an entity that has a home address on it and it's only designated for funding, there's no clients or anyone that would really have any reason to even look it up, right? So if I have my client facing one separate, I can put my own address and keep it private, whatever the case. So if I got tenants or if I got disgruntled customers or whatever the case, then I don't have to necessarily worry about that. And then you can use this funding LLC to be able to fund your other entity, even if you have a high risk business, if you got trucking or something like that. And you can have an entity designated that's going to be set up as good as possible for funding, and then fund the trucking business with that rather than just going straight in with the trucking business. Let me know if that makes sense. Right. So you said also now people have your home address and your personal safety could be in jeopardy. Yep. And that strategy makes sense. So hopefully that makes sense. Right. Because again, we're leveraging what we can to be able to get the max funding. Right. And again, not that a virtual address can't work. There's certain ones that can. If you are going to do it, if you're determined to do it, you need to make sure you do what I just said as far as check for the CMRA, right? And make sure it's not looking like that, and Google it on Street View and make sure it's looking like a good office building. And there's one more hack. There's one more thing that I got to share with you on that. If you do get a virtual address and you're using that, you need to make sure that you do not put the box number in your official business filing. Right. And what does that mean is a lot of times if you get like an address from iPostal One, for example, or Opus, they're going to give you an address like this. It's going to say 123 Main Street, Suite 300. And then it'll say box 2002 or number 2002 or PMB 2002 for your mailbox number at that place. right? Which is your spot. However, when you put that in your filing for the IRS, put that in your filing for the state, put that in your filing for the Dun and Bradstreet number, and your filing for your bank accounts, it automatically indicates that this is basically a post mailbox, right? To the point that I saw somebody getting, they were looking to open an LLC in Maryland, and the state site was like, you can't open this. They had gotten that address from Opus, right? Opus is a legitimate company, with a good track record, but when they put that information directly in there, it was like, you can't even open this LLC in the state because this is a post mailbox and we need something solid. Right. So even more, the banks could have an issue with that. So you need to check. So what you're going to do is just put the suite number on your filing. So if you have one of these addresses and you already checked the CMRA and all that's good and you're determined to use it, just put the suite number on there. So you got 123 Main Street, Suite 300. And then now that looks more legitimate when you're putting that on the different places, because it's like, okay, this is just the business for this suite. And what happens is when you get mail to the service to that at that address and you don't have the box number on there, but your name is on there, a lot of times they still get the mail to you. In my experience, all the time, because they know which business it is and they can just assign it. Right. So that's another way to go about it. Again, that's a little a nice little hack. I do want to make sure. Dove Hill, did you have a question that I skipped over? My mind just like jumped to that. Let me know if there was a question that I skipped over. You guys put your questions in the chat. I want to get as many answers and clarity for you guys and value, so that you feel empowered to be able to take advantage of this information. Right. So let's see. Aria, how do you say that? Aria Leilong? Let me know about that. That's interesting. So your personal's at 765. Personal gets approved, but they barely want to do personal. What are you doing wrong? Right. So we can talk about that. Again, if you want to leverage, REL Long. REL Long. Okay, that's dope. Yeah. So, and welcome. Yep. So let me know specifically what you mean as far as they barely want to do personal. Let me know what you mean, because if you have this blueprint that I just shared, and let me know if you need me to loop back to it. If you have that personal credit profile and we're now going through the LLC structure, and you have those two things and you combine them, you can get access to this business credit stacking approach, right? Where we can get access to 100K, 120K, 80K, 150K, and in one swoop, and then be able to repeat that over and over 6 months at a time. Right. So when you just line those two things up with a strategy, again, this is why that it's so important to book a consultation with the team. Right. To, again, fundingmyfuture.net. You're going to go on there, just hit the little link and get your consultation book, a free slot to know your next step. And is your next step going to be, I need to look at my credit and start the ball rolling today on credit? Or do I need to look at my funding situation and see, okay, what do I need to do to get funded and funded at the max possible amounts, right? So you said they gave you 20K, but after they've been stalling you. Yeah, so that there could be some things. And again, the banks that you work with are important too, right? And this is why the funding sequence matters so much, is you might be putting all your marbles in a certain institution, and there could be 3 or 4 others that you need to be tapping, that are going to be more advantageous to you or easier to work with, or, and that's what, if you're not studying this like deeply, like we are, you might not know which banks are out there doing that. All right. So, Ariel Long, let's, I'm going to do it just for you, right? The personal credit profile. All right. Let's just put some check marks on it. All right. Real quick before we continue with the LLC entity structure. Do you have at least your credit card limits, your overall limits? Are they 10,000 to 15,000 or more on your personal cards? Right. Your utilization is under 30% at minimum. Do you have 0 to 3 inquiries on per bureau on your report? Right. And especially in the last 6 months. Do you have at least 7 to 10 primary accounts reporting on your credit file? Is your average age of your credit at least 4 to 5 years or more? Ideally, or at least 2 years or more. And you have no late payments, no collections, no charge-offs, no bankruptcies. Right? Desmond, thanks for the share. No bankruptcies, no derogatories. And if you do have, only caveat, if you have late payments that are older than 2 years old, then you can still squeeze in the door. So you want to check that. If you have that, your score is probably going to reflect decently, but a high score does not automatically mean that you have those things. And that's literally the blueprint and the sauce. If you have that, then you are ready to access 80K, 100K, 120K, 150, depending on how you go about it. Right? Now, next, business entity structure. We talked about the name is important to make sure that it's not high risk. And we went in detail about the business address, how you can check your address, the dual LLC strategy, leveraging the home address. When somebody asked about a registered agent, you can do registered agent as well. If you check out the address, like I said, according to that CMRA. Miss Anitra, thanks for sharing. You can check that address too. That can be a solid option because registered agents typically will charge, like a yearly fee that's a lower than compared to like a monthly fee for some of the other options. So that if you have that and you can search that in your area, then it's definitely a legit option. But again, you want to be mindful. The banks change things up, right? The banks change things up. Yep. So Ariel Long. So you said you do not have 7 to 10 accounts, right? So now it's time to start building up. And again, I would suggest that you build up under the consultation of the team so you can know, okay, which type of accounts do I need? So you're not shooting in the dark or just trying to figure out different things like what specifically do I need that's holding me back? And that would be the most streamlined way to do it. Again, fundingmyfuture.net. Just hit the link in the bio and just fill out that little form and get a consultation book and get in with the team. That's my main suggestion with that, right? But the fact that you don't have any delinquents is a great start, and you want to check mark those other things, right? So we talked about business address in detail, right? That's the sauce. Next, we want to have a business phone number, right? Dedicated business phone number. You can use Grasshopper or some of these other services. Call 8. There's a different service you can use to get a phone number. If you have a toll-free number, that's great. You like a 1-800. You can get a local number, but something that's not your cell phone. Right? I'm going to go into why that's important a little bit in just a second. Next, you need a business website and a domain-based email address. Again, we want this business to look legit and like it's going to be around for a long time. So even if you have been in business for a while, sometimes these things are missing, and this is what's holding you back, or it's not, as polished as it could be, and this might be what's holding you back. Now, this website doesn't have to be anything crazy. A landing page that just looks clean and nice. You can get somebody on Fiverr to make it in literally the next, hour or two, and cost $20. If you use a site like GoDaddy to get your domain, they have AI-based website builders that you can use and spit out a generic site. Again, with this bank-facing situation, generic, clean, nothing crazy. Just a landing page, right? And this website would have your business name, your business logo. You can get one created if you don't have one. Your business address and email, and maybe a description of what your business does. Again, aligned with those low risk industries. If in any way possible, you can do that. To say, is it some sort of consulting in any way, some sort of marketing, some sort of online education, right? You can align those and put that basic description on the site, and you're good to go, right? Now, shortly after that, you need a domain-based email address, right? So no Gmail, no Yahoo. Again, we want it to look like it's sticking around for a while. Life's good. What's up? Thanks for the follow. And is it Jylon or Jillian Lewis? Let me know. Thanks for the follow. So you would need a domain-based email address. Again, you can get that. That just makes things look more stable. And the last thing is an online business presence that is looks like your business is again going to be around for a while, and it's visible and it can be found. So very basic. Do you show up on Google if somebody Googles your business? You can literally go to Google My Business and put your information in, right? And now you show up there. Do you show up in Bing? Do you show up in Yelp? Right. You can add your information to these profiles, and then you can get some reviews from people that you know, or whatever the case, that can add some reviews, even better. Right. Just makes it more stable and more solid. Next is your 411 listing. Do you show up in the 411 registry, either national or local? And you can go to listyourself.net. Listyourself.net. I'm gonna just put in the chat. You can go to listyourself.net, and they should have a free version that you could use for local, or you can pay a little more and have a national listing. And it doesn't take too long, but just put your information in. Now, with all of this, one really, really important thing that you need to write down: wherever you put your information, it needs to match exactly word for word, letter for letter, across the board. So this is like if you have a suite in your address, suite 300, and you put on the IRS filing SUITE, and then on the business entity, the state filing, you put STE, like an abbreviation. That's going to show up as two different businesses in a lot of these computer programs when they search for you. And then when you add that confusion into the equation, that's where you're going to get some denials and things like that, or it's going to kick you into a place again, these low limit approvals, or you got to submit more documents and things like that. So you want to just avoid that if at all possible. Naturo, thanks for the follow, and good evening. Yep. So you want to make sure it matches exactly across the board. So double check it. Once you have the name and the address, you check your address, or if you're going to leverage again that home address strategy that we talked about, just make sure wherever you put the information, the bank accounts, everything, that it's all the same across the board. That's going to make everything so much easier, right? Stars Corona, thanks for the follow. So let's wrap this up, right? So that is the business entity structure. So you literally just learned, if you've been tapped in here, you literally just learned the things that are required to be able to access 100K, 120K, 80K, 150K, 0% interest, business credit. And that goes through there's no red tape, meaning you don't need tax returns. You don't need bank statements. You don't need personal financial statements. You don't need proof of revenue for your business. You don't need a bunch of time in business. All of that goes out the window when you have those two things that I just shared with you. And that's power, right? And again, the power to, I didn't talk in depth about mentorship, but the power to be able to access mentorship is one of the biggest shortcuts that you can leverage. And having business credit opens that door significantly, because now you have money that you either maybe didn't have before, or maybe would think 3 times about before using. But now you have money to be able to pay literally anybody in the world to give you the exact information you need to push things forward in whatever industry that you're doing. You'd have to vet this out properly, but you can access literally anybody in the world in a high way, from between $3,000 to like $50,000, like anybody. And if you do that, a lot of times the results, the outcomes on the other side are going to be a lot higher. Like the people that charge 25,000, I'm just thinking of a mentorship right now that I'm tapped in with, and they say, hey, if you're in the $25,000 tier, our goal and commitment and guarantee is that you're going to be making $100,000 a month in your business. That's we're going to teach you the strategies to be able to do that. But not everybody has $25,000 or thinks to even use that. But if you have business credit of 100 or 120 or 150,000, and you could use 25,000 on that, and then you can use another, 5-10,000 or whatever they're telling you to execute on, and then you can make 100,000 a month at the end of that. Is that worth it? Where you didn't have to come out of your pocket at all because we leverage the bank's money to be able to make those moves. That's power, right? So world of Subans Says, can you go back and edit with registering IRS and EIN? Yes, you can edit. Yes, you can edit. It just takes time. So it's just like moving. Like I hate moving because you got to update all your stuff everywhere, and you forgot to call this utility, and all this different stuff. It just takes time to do it. And one hack I will say, if you are updating your name and information with the IRS, then you're gonna want to call them physically and ask them to fax you the new updated thing instead of waiting for the mail to finish it, because the mail, especially now with the government, things happening, it can take weeks and months for that mail to come through. But if you can talk to the right person, sometimes you might have to call back, but you talk to the right person, then they can just fax it to you right on the spot. And that's going to be the fastest way to do that. Right. So Naturo, so he said, what 2 things? Please repeat. Late to the party. Hey, it is kind of late. Where you guys tapped in from? And Jagria Alex. Maybe my eyes are Jagrial Alex. He said, good morning. Good morning to you as well. So those of you that are in Cali, I'm over in Maryland. So it is late. Like I like to say, late 30 right now. Ty Snyder, thanks for the follow. Appreciate you. It's super late. Where you guys tapped in from? So Naturo's coming from Cali. I will go over the 2 things, right? I'm gonna do it again just for you. And again, you guys, please take advantage of these free consultation calls, right? You can go to fundingmyfuture.net, hit the button, and you can text me and I'll send it to you directly. But you just get a free consultation to see what is my next step. Is it something with my credit, or is my credit ready to go? And I literally just need to talk about, okay, what do we need to do, either with my LLC or with anything, to be able to access this approach, or anything else that you might need when it comes to funding. Again, SBA loans, trying to take over a business or do some larger things. SBA loans are up to 5 million, sometimes 5.5 million if you're doing construction, like commercial projects. So that's super powerful to be able to access. Or working capital loans, unsecured loans, vehicle, equipment financing. Like, we can help with all of that. However, like I said, I've been sharing with you, this 0% strategy is one of the most powerful because it's very accessible and very quick. Appreciate you, Ty. Yep, Ty coming in from Detroit. All right. Ty's on the late night tip, just like me right now. All right. The bag is here. Thanks for the follow. Peaches, thanks for the follow. World of Savants in Maryland. All right, here we go. Neighbors. All right. So yep. So I'm gonna loop back around for Naturo real quick. So what are the 2 things? The 2 things are, this is very simple, very powerful once you know it. Your personal credit profile, your business entity structure. When you have those 2 and you combine those 2, that is immediate access, right? And again, this is going to vary. The results are going to vary depending on how you go about it, depending on who you work with, right? Whether you decide to go it your own. But if you have this blueprint, you're going to be set up the best possible to be able to get approvals. The level of those approvals is going to vary. Like I said, I've seen situations where, depending on who somebody's working with, they got an approval for a card for, I think it was $8,000, right? Like, hey, that's cool. 8,000, you can do a lot with it. Great. With my client that I was working with, the same card, same situation. We got her $50,000 on that card. So the difference was $8,000 versus $50,000. Now that's a drastic example. Sometimes that might be $20,000 versus $40,000, right? As far as some of these differences, and the amount of attention that people put on how are we setting you up for success. All right, so that's just something to know. But again, the best thing I can tell you is make sure you tap in with a consultation. So Ty says, can I get approved for an SBA loan to buy a business instead of starting my own? Ooh, yes, sir. Yes, you can. So let's talk that. I went through that a little bit, right? And you said you got your EIN and LLC, but everything is all messed up. So we can start today to get it fixed. But let's talk about that SBA loan. I went through that a little bit before, I'm gonna say it one more time because it is very powerful. You could literally, not only can you get an SBA loan, right, and the team can walk you through what it's going to take to do that. Not only can you get an SBA loan, but the SBA is going to require a 10% down payment for whatever you're doing. So again, if you buy a business that's $1 million, right, they're going to require you to put up $100,000 down. Where can you get that 100,000 from? You can use your business credit stack, right, to be able to fund the $100,000. So you're using the bank's money, and you didn't come out of pocket at all to purchase the entire business. And in a lot of cases, not far-fetched, that these businesses are cash flowing $20,000 a month, $15,000 a month, $5,000 a month, $50,000 a month, $40,000. Right? If you play your cards right, pun intended, play your cards right there, you can do that whole thing without having to come out of pocket at all. That is crazy. All right. Big Ed, and we are going to come back to Naturo. We're going to come back to make sure that we understand what exactly about this personal profile, what exactly needs to be there, and what needs to be in that business entity structure. I'm going to loop around to it real quick. All right, before we jump tonight. So again, you guys put your questions in the chat. Like I said, I paid good money for this information, and I've been studying and I've been working. I paid as a client. You know what I mean? I paid as a mentee, and then I realized the power of this, and this is why I help connect people with this now, because it's so powerful. All right, and I paid good money for it, and I want you to have it for free tonight, just because you're tapped in here, you're up here late, pouring into yourself, and I want you to be able to grow and push things forward. Right. Again, for those that didn't hear, the other factor is I do care a lot about abundance, about, every a rising tide lifting all boats. And I do want the young people, the next generation, to be more equipped, than we were, and for everybody to be better across the board. So I have committed to donate and reinvest a portion of my profits to a fund that's going to be helping young entrepreneurs to get into business, to get into wealth creation, into financial literacy, into mentorship, so they can change the generational wealth landscape across the board. Right. And Big Ed, thanks for the follow. And Eyes Free to Think, thanks for the follow. All right. So let's talk this through. So Big Ed says 8 to 10K monthly revenue, not your primary job, but looking for working capital to expand to make it primary. All right. So your 8 to 10K, Big Ed, you can access some. You're right on the edge of being able to access revenue-based funding, right? Well, these are some other products that we can link you with, because in funding, you're going to be bringing something to the table, right? And that's either going to be your income, like your cash. That's either going to be your credit, like we're talking about right now, or some sort of collateral, which is like if you have real estate or, a stock portfolio, or these different things that you can leverage to get access to these funding products. But Big Ed, you can still be able to leverage this 0% stacking approach, where we now take all the red tape away. You don't have to have W-2s. You don't have to have business revenue. You don't have to have, tax returns, all this different stuff to be able to still access 80K, 100K, 150K, 120K, all right, to be able to push that way. All right. So, and the best thing that you can do, Big Ed, is again, book a call with the team. All right. Because then they'll be able to look at your situation. And the only way to advise in your situation is to have more information about it. You know what I mean? And that's the beauty of these consultations and the way this is set up, because you're getting specific instruction about exactly your setup, your goals, you know what I mean? Your existing relationships, all that. So that's why I say fundingmyfuture.net. Go in and book a consultation with the team. And again, you're going to be either meeting with somebody that's going to talk about your credit, if there's something in your credit that's holding you back, or you're going to be meeting with somebody that's talking about funding and like, what do we need to do? Because your credit is solid. Because we can't really do one before the other, not directly. I have been sharing some ways for you guys to be able to leverage this if your credit is not in the right place. But that's how the system is set up as far as who you're going to work with. So he said, please, can I get your contract so we can chat on WhatsApp. All right. So I'll say the best way, like I said, you can text me. The best way is you can text me 240 642. Did I put that in right? Yep. Just text me. And if you have any additional questions, but now is the time. I'm here now. You just ask the questions now. Right. So you said you need someone to help you with lining up your cards, Ty. Yep. So are you talking about your personal cards or your business cards? Let me know. Because do you need more personal cards in order to reach the threshold? Or are you talking about you need business cards? Right. So how do you structure a business? Nina Talib. So we went through that. I'm gonna go through both of them real quick. I'm gonna go maybe a little less detail unless you guys have a specific question. But just for Naturo and for Nina. All right, so let's run through this. Is Nina, are you still around? Let me know if you're still around. I know you just tapped in, but here we go. So from the beginning, what is this going to take? All right, what is this going to take? And Big Ed, you said, what do you mean? Do I what? Let me know what you mean in the chat. Right. Ty, you said you have absolutely no debt on your credit report. It's a 610. You need guidance, right, to build it up. So you mean you have no credit, like no credit cards, no. Yep. Yeah. So I would say just book a call with the team and just start working on it today. And you can work on it under the right guidance to say, okay, these are the most important ways to navigate this, so you can build it the right way from the beginning. You don't have to take all the guesswork out, basically. Right. And again, if you weren't here, I talked about ways you can leverage this right now without having to even have your credit in that right place, because you can be working with a credit partner, again, like someone else that has this profile that I'm about to share again, like the exact bullet points you're going to need. But who else has this profile that they're sitting on it and not using it? And you can partner with them, and we can get them funded 100K, 80K, 120K in the first round. And then you can still leverage that for whatever you're doing for your business, right? Either on your operating agreement and we leverage it that way, or we just create another LLC for them and we do it that way. So that's totally possible, right? That's a game changer. That's a game changer, right? Because I still suggest that you work, like I said, get connected and get things started today so that you can push things forward for your life. And again, however long it takes, if you're building from scratch, I would say let's grind for a year. Let's grind for a year to say, okay, I'm gonna get the right accounts in, and I need those accounts to season so that this time, 2026, I'm ready to just go full force. But while you grind, you can still be executing because you can leverage a credit partner. The other way you can benefit from this is you can sign up as an affiliate, right? And then now that you know this blueprint of exactly what's required in that personal profile and the LC structure, you can just be referring people that need funding that have that profile, and you can get paid $2,000 to $3,000 per client. Not far-fetched at all. You do 1 or 2 of those a month, 2 or 3, 2 to 5 of those a month, that adds up quick. You could be leveraging that literally right now, even if you have no credit. So those are some things you can do. Almock or AI Mock, let me know. Thanks for the follow. All right, so let's go back to the business structure. Natura, are you interested in the affiliate program? Yeah, so I want you to put affiliate in the chat, right? Or you can text me the word affiliate. Again, at 240 642. You can text me the word affiliate or put an affiliate here in the chat, and I will make sure you're lined up with that, right? If you have an idea to say, okay, either I know people that are in the industry, or that could use business funding, and I could just reach out to them without doing a bunch of extra work. Again, if you just 1 or 2 people, that's pretty significant. But even if you did 1 a month, that's a good deal. Or if you're like, okay, I could put some more work into that and be reaching out to people. I can reach out to some realtors or reach out to some tax professionals, or I could go to my local business chamber of commerce and just share some of the basics even of this, and just let the team do the rest. You can run that up very quickly. All right. You can make that your whole operation potentially. And a lot of our partners do that. right? So that's definitely a possibility. So like I said, you can put affiliate in the chat. I see you, eyes free to think. You can put affiliate in the chat, or you can text me. And yep, you can text me. You say you'll never guess, but your Dixie wrecked right now. Oh, don't blame me for that. I hope you weren't getting distracted from the road, if that's what you mean. And hopefully you are good, right? Yeah, that is pretty wild. So let's go back through the profile, right? Just so you guys know, and just so you're aware of like what is that exactly is going to take. This is a good time, since we're looping back around. Share this with somebody now, right? Keep hitting the like button. We're at 17,000 likes. Let's keep pushing it up. Maybe we can get to 20 before we end the night, right? Share this if you've been getting any value from this at all. Share a gift. That helps the algorithm to know that this is good information, get out to more people. But this is a good time to share, because I'm going through it again right from the top. I'm going to go straight through it right before we wrap for the evening. All right, so here we go. And again, put your questions in the chat. Naturo, thanks for the share. Put your questions in the chat. Whatever it is that you feel like is might be holding you back, or something that you want to know about, let me know. All right, Ty, thanks for the share. All right, here we go. Number one, get your pen, get your phone note, your computer, whatever you got. This is the exact setup that you need in order to access what I'm talking about. No red tape. Potentially in the next 30 days, could have access to 100K if you have these bullet points right here. All right. Number one, your credit card limits. If you add up all your card limits on your personal cards, is it more than $15,000 or $10,000 to $15,000? And within that, do you have at least 2 cards that are $3,000 or higher at the minimum? All right, that's bullet point number one. Number two, is your utilization below 30%? Ideally, it's below 10%. And utilization is something that we can take care of in short order. I shared a hack on utilization. I might do it one more time before we cut out, but I did share the trick that we can deal with that in short order if that's the only thing holding you back. That's number two. Number three, you have 0 to 3 increase per bureau, right, on your credit report. And ideally you have as few as possible in the last 6 months. You have at least number 4. Do you have at least 10 accounts on your credit report in your name? 7 to 10 accounts. Mortgages, auto loans, student loans, credit cards, store cards, etc. Next, do you have an average age of your credit of at least 4 years or more, 4 to 5 years? You can squeeze by with 2 years, 2 years plus, but anything less than that, we're going to need to work on. And lastly, do you have no derogatories, no delinquents? So that means no late payments, no collections, no charge-offs, no bankruptcy. And the only caveat is your late payments. If you have late payments that are older than 2 years old, then you can squeeze through. I hope you wrote that down. That's literally it. So if somebody has that, or if you have that, you're sitting on 100K, you're sitting on 120 in the next 30 days. Right? Or if, as you're navigating people that you could refer, those are the questions that you need to be kind of checking. Like what's up with their credit profile, and do they have that profile set up? That's it. Next, the business entity structure. Somebody asked about structure. All right. Structure is, do you have a business name that is not high risk? And again, we talked about keyword enterprises, keyword solutions, keyword group, sometimes keyword holdings. And your industry, are you indicating in any way or form that it's consulting, something to do with marketing, something to do with online education? Those are the 3 easiest ones, right? And there's others that you can squeeze by, right? Top Hat Realty, thanks for the follow. Again, I hope you've been keeping up on how this can be very beneficial for people in real estate. right? Accessing these funds and even these solutions for credit repair and optimization, because we have a lot of work with a lot of realtors that it helps a lot of their clients to get credit help, and then works with a lot of their investors to get funding for projects. It's a game changer, right? Top Hat Realty, yeah, game changer. So you're coming right in at the right time. All right. So yeah, so we talked about that. Non-high risk business and real estate happens to be one of those industries. Top Hat from California, my home state. And thanks for the share, Top Hat. So a non-high risk business name, we need to stay on top of which ones are high risk and not. But if we know that, we can navigate it properly, right? Next is your business address. Needs to be something that does not indicate a PO box. And I talked about how to check your address to see if it shows up as a CMRA on the USPS website. If it shows up that way, then you want to run for the hills. All right. And we also talked about the home address strategy, where the team will walk you through if a home address is the best, most advantageous, it's going to get the max funding. You can leverage a dual LLC strategy to actually leverage the home address. All right. Chameleon and company consulting. Yeah, I think that can work. Top Hat. Yep. So we talked about business address strategies, but the address needs to be tight. Once you have that name and address, you need to make sure that it's the same information you put everywhere, on the IRS document, on the state document, state filing, on the bank account, your Dun & Bradstreet number, anywhere that address and name goes, it needs to look exactly the same, because any variation is going to cause a duplicate, and those duplicates, the computer gets confused about what's going on, and that's why you start to get denials and things like that. All right, so matching information. You need to have a business phone number, dedicated business line that's not your cell phone. You need to have a business website. You can do a landing page, go to fiverr.com and get somebody to make it, or you can use GoDaddy and have AI create it. A very basic landing page that's clean and looks good. A domain-based email address, meaning no Gmail, no Yahoo, just your .com, info@yourbusiness.com or whatever. And your business presence needs to be solid. So do you show up on Google? Do you show up on Yelp? Do you show up on Bing? Are you in the 411 listing? And you can go to listyourself.net and submit your information to the 411 listing. All right. That is the blueprint. All right. So if you just tapped in, you got those two things. You marry those two things together, that business credit, that business entity structure and that personal credit profile. You put those two together, you don't need anything else. Again, your time in business, you don't need it. You don't even need a business credit score, paydex score, and things like that. It can help, but you don't need it. You don't need tax returns. You don't need personal financial statements. You don't need W-2s. All of that stuff. World of Subhans, when you're talking about utilization, let me know what are you looking for the utilization hack for me to repeat that? If utilization is your only thing holding you back, let me know if that's what you mean, and I'll explain it again. Okay, here's the hack. Very quickly, your utilization is based on your revolving credit card limits. It's not based on loan products. So what you can do right in short order is, if I have $10,000 in credit card balances, right, and my utilization is high, I can get a $10,000 personal loan, pay off the credit cards. I didn't come out of pocket anymore. I didn't change my budget. Right? My credit card balances go down and my credit score shoots up through the roof. Right? Now I've got a personal loan for $10,000. I'm going to be paying less on it because it's probably less interest, but it's not going to stay there long, because now if that's the only thing holding me back, now I'm ready to get funding. We can get you funded 100K, 110K, 120, 150, 80. Right? And then we can effectively move that personal loan balance over to the business credit side at 0% interest. And also, like I said, business credit cards and things, if you're using the right banks, do not show up on your personal credit.